There you go.
Okay. Yeah, starting now. Okay. And good evening, everyone, and welcome to our virtual forum on AI ethical self-regulation.
Oops. Did Sarah
So
just freeze?
for that, let us recite Al-Fatiha first. Okay. So Amin. So we're joined today by the three esteemed speakers for today. So first we have Mr. Claudian Navin, expert in digital, Dr. Nur Adlin, researcher in data privacy and digital law. And last, we have Associate Professor Dr. Aida, academic leader in marketing ethics and communication strategy. So, have you guys eaten already? Like, how are you guys feeling?
Well, dinner is later. Live on coffee for now.
Oh, alright. Okay, what about you, Adlin?
Yeah, I have taken my dinner. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Aida, you good?
Yeah, I ate what we sold at the Gombak Food Festival just now, which I took home and
Oh,
ate them. Yeah.
I see. Okay, so let us begin by setting the stage with some general questions about AI ethical marketing first. So, this is for the general questions. So, the first question is, what are the best tips for marketing communicator to use AI but stay ethical? Anyone can answer this. So, let's start with Mr. Navin first.
Okay. Maybe what I can do is, can I set the context first, right? I think one of the most important catalysts for civilization was fire, right? We needed fire for warmth. We needed fire to cook our food. It basically drove a lot of industry. It basically evolved the entire ecosystem. Even biologically, we evolved. But fire also was used for the most devastating of our actions, right? It destroyed, it scorched earth. Uh, so every tool, and I think every single thing that we've had that man has invented, from medicine to equipment to the basic knife, uh, has been used either positively or nefariously. So it is not the tool, but the person behind the tool. Okay, so coming to the context of AI, same scenario. AI is a tool, right? Just like a calculator. I mean, you can't kill somebody with a calculator, but AI has a lot of potential beyond what you can do, what you normally see. But there's an other side to the equation, right? And the other side is almost limitless. Uh, and the only thing that's holding AI anchored is the person behind it. AI doesn't know right from wrong. It does not think. It does not have a soul. It has no moral compass. So it is the human side of the equation that decides and dictates where it actually goes. So if AI is used for good, it's because the person behind it decided to use it for good. If AI is used for negative uses or for bad intentions, the intent is from the user. So I would say the intent of the user is what is reflected in AI ultimately. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, that answered the question. Thank you very much. So, what about you, Ms. Adli?
Okay. Thank you for the question. Before that, Assalamualaikum and good evening to everyone, to the respected speaker, Mr. Claudian and Dr. Aida. I'm really honored to be here to discuss the topic, which very interesting for me and also deeply important, which is the self-regulation in the marketing communication in the era of AI. Because of as we all know that marketing techniques has evolved, that in the past everyone sees the same advertisement, the same or items and same price. But today, two-person see the exactly the same website, completely different ads given, or even similar ads, they have different prices. So that's how powerful of AI in how powerful the AI marketing and also personalizations. So how do we use AI in marketing ethically? First, because of I'm from data privacy experts, I mean, the first one would be to respect people's privacy, that we need to be clear that the marketer need to be clear with what data they are going to collect, why they need it, how it will be used, it will be stored, and how they will dispose it, and how they will share it to the third party. So these need to be stated in the privacy notice in order to ensure that everything is communicated clearly to the data subjects, that is the customers, to ensure that the customers can make informed decision and give their valid consent. So that's the first one, to respect the people privacy. Because the consent itself is very important. Just look at the simple example that Amazon was fined 746 million euro for using person data for targeted advertising without consent. So that's the reason we need to have the very clear consent from the customers. The second one is to how we can use AI for marketing ethically, is watch out for bias, because of there is a algorithmic bias when data the input data is inaccurate or biased, so the outcome also can be inaccurate and biased too. For example, it can unfairly target or ignore certain groups. That's why it is important to train AI fairly to avoid discrimination. And the third one is the human interference. AI can generate content or suggest strategies, but humans should make the final decision, especially for sensitive topics. Human can add empathy, context, and good judgment. In the end of the day, ethical marketing in AI isn't just about following the rules. It provides better experience, protects the privacy, and builds customer trust and loyalty. Thank you. Over to you, Sarah.
So thank you very much for the journal question for Dr. Aida. So, what are the most important principles that future marketing communicators should adopt?
Okay, so what are the most important principles that future marketing communicators should adopt to practice responsible self-regulation, isn't it? Um, I believe that, I mean, it's such an interesting topic when reflecting upon it, with regards to self-regulation, artificial intelligence, and marketing communication, because of course, artificial intelligence has transformed, isn't it, marketing communication in such a big way that we are looking into the ethical aspect of it, and it's not easy. It's not easy to understand what's going on, because things are moving so fast, and at the same time to apply, isn't it, yeah, self-regulation and also ethics in the whole picture. um, the thing is, I suppose the most important principles that future marketing communicators should adopt to practice responsible self-regulation is to understand that they have a responsibility to not share or not to produce harmful content, not to produce harmful content that could affect, people in a way that is not is not good, isn't it? Yeah, that is harmful. So to also practice honesty and truthfulness. So I would say that marketing communicators still need to go by the original traditional marketing communicator principles, which is basically to be truthful, to be honest, to protect, but we also think about more in terms of protecting consumer privacy, isn't it? Protecting consumer privacy. We talk about fairness and respect and not manipulation, for example. And when we self-regulate, it means that we are ourselves understanding that we have that responsibility, and we can stop ourselves from coming up with harmful content, or content that's dishonest, or content that's untruthful, or content that is manipulative. So we are in control of that, and we can apply the principles that we've been using for all types of marketing communication onto AI marketing communication, and we should be doing that. And that it is the ourselves as marketing communicators, also in collaboration with people in the industry and academics, I suppose, who could who decide how to self-regulate, is how to self-regulate all of these, yeah, different content, so that marketing communication content, so that we come up with responsible content, and we are determining it ourselves rather than letting other people determine it for us, regulatory authorities telling us what to do, but we are ourselves determining it, determining what is harmful, what's not, what's irresponsible, what's not. I suppose that's how you look at it. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Aida. So moving on, that's it.
Oops.
Now,
Sarah's kind of frozen. Sorry, Sarah, I lost you for a bit. I lost you
oh,
for a bit.
oh, oh, okay. So, okay, I'm gonna repeat the question for you.
Okay. Oops. Again.
And marketing communicators be responsible through?
Sarah, you seem to be freezing every time you speak for
Oh,
some reason.
really? Oh, well, am I still freezing?
Now it's okay. Yeah. Oops, but you just froze again. Oh, is it only my side, Prof? Do you see it as well? Or?
Yeah, I do. Sarah,
Yeah,
maybe do you
real.
want to turn off your camera? Do you want to turn off your camera? Perhaps that will help.
Yeah, maybe a bit of lag from that.
Yeah.
Okay, is this fine, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for that problem. And okay, so I'm just gonna repeat the.
Oops. Lost
Right.
the audio again.
Oh my God, no. It's my connection okay?
We
You're
sort of
going
lost you a bit here
intermittent.
and there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I change to my hotspot for a while? Wait, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I find this to be, while waiting for Sarah, I find it to be such an interesting topic, Claudian. But you were saying that in Europe, they've already taken off with something, isn't it? Like
Well,
a standard or something?
they do have a standard, but it's still baseline. I mean, there's nothing much on
Right.
AI. So I think some clarity to be shared, right? I think
Mm.
we are looking very skewed in terms of the application of AI in marketing. So there are two parts of the
Mhm.
equation. One is the automated part, where the
Right.
algorithms come in, right? And the
Mm.
algorithms basically do not work on self-regulation because they are machine regulated, right?
Mm.
And machine regulated is programmed by the company. So each company would have their
Mm.
own measures and their own guidelines. Like say, for example, Meta has their own standards, TikTok will have their own
Mm.
standards, Google will have their own standards. They do not follow
Right.
any other standard except their own, right?
Mm.
So in terms of understanding the self-regulation scenario, self-regulation is where actual marketers are involved,
Mm.
which means this is not an automated scenario. And in reality, most of us marketers, although are utilizing AI, except those who are invested in proprietary AI for their own companies, we will not take the risk of using AI fully simply because there are still IP issues. Unless the internal system that you're feeding internal information into it,
Mm.
otherwise, it's going to be a risk factor because if I ask it for a brief, I don't know whether the brief is coming from a third party. So, for example, use ChatGPT for this.
Mm.
I know they're using it in school and everything else, and it's
Mm.
borderline plagiarism basically. But when it comes
Mm.
to creative industry and you're doing plagiarism like that, you could actually be sued for IP. You know,
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
yeah. So that is a risk scenario. The other thing is hallucination factor, right?
Mm.
IP is still prone to hallucination, which is it cooks up facts which are not there, making
Mhm.
assumptions based on the data that it has.
Right.
So those are the issues you face. I think just to highlight the ethical issue that Adeline mentioned just now, right? I think from a brand perspective, I look at it this way. I go on the word trusted,
Mhm.
which goes back to the old principles, right? So
Right.
MCET, ASA, all that covered the old principles. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter which medium you are talking on, as
Right.
long as those principles are viable, it crosses across. So we had that issue where we thought the whole world was changing because of social media. It proved that it wasn't, right? We went on
Mm.
programmatic, we went on precision marketing, and now we'll come back to reach. We have gone back to branding. The
Mhm.
ecosystem goes one full round and comes back in dead center. In
Right.
reality, nothing really changes. The principles are core. So if you go on trusted, transparency will be the first, respect, unbiasedness,
Mm.
safety,
Mm.
truthfulness, ethical, and due diligence. Anything that follows the
Mm.
code, the laws, knowing as long as you stay by those principles, that's enough
Right.
to keep you covered across any medium, whether it is
Mm.
social, whether it is AI as it evolves.
Mhm.
But again, that is something that is left to an individual.
Right.
It is not something that you can put it into a system because it'll be, say for example, Meta will have a baseline that will
Mhm.
matter to Meta, but they will
Right.
not look at each country's principles. Like for example,
Mm.
in Malaysia, we look at the Rukun. We also look at the multicultural system, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
We have the 3R. We have the 3R factor in there as well. These are not
Mhm.
things that are concerned to Meta, so they will never bother about it.
Right. Yeah. So there are two parts to this whole thing, isn't it? There's the automated, but then there's also
Yeah.
other forms of marketing that people are involved in. So I mean, let me just go to the first question since Sarah, since you have a bit of problems. Sarah, you still having problems?
I'm here.
Okay. So can you start asking the first
Yeah,
question again, please?
sorry
Yeah.
about the problem just now. Okay, so
Uh-huh.
with AI now central in brand communication, how can marketing communicator be responsible through AI generated digital marketing communication using self-regulation?
Mm.
Okay. Like I said earlier, AI is a tool. It is a powerful tool, but it's still a tool. The end of the day is when you use a tool, whether you're using it fully to come up with creative ideas, or whether you're using it to, like Illustrator or whatever, to design stuff, it is still that tool, and it's what you put into it that's critical, right? Now, what you have to remember is AI is limited. AI is limited by the data sets. Okay, so now say, for example, if you depend on ChatGPT, for example, very clear, straight out scenario. Now, for example, ChatGPT's predominant data sets are built overseas. Okay, US, Europe, and everywhere else. Okay, so anything that you put in here and asking questions that are more related to a local community scenario may be diluted. It may be nuanced and skewed towards a Western scenario. So what you're getting is not a real answer. You're getting an answer based on a different demographic, a different thing. It's dependent on data sets. Now, Dr. Adlin will tell you, and I'm a tech background guy, right? And I know the principle of IT was always garbage in, garbage out. Okay, if you go back to the initial days of YouTube, they will tell you that YouTube videos 3 minutes is the best time, right? Nothing more than 3 minutes. Why was that? The reason that was because those days when YouTube first started, their servers could only hold bite-sized video, 3-minute bite size. So their full video content was full of 3-minute videos. Obviously, 3-minute videos work because that's all they had, right? But, when people watch movies now, they binge watch one whole season, not 3 minutes, right? So that disproves that entire logic. So what happens is, because of the parameters and the limitations of data sets, you will get limited answers. It's just like marketing survey lah. When you do a survey in a closed network scenario with a certain community or whatever, you will not get a full dimensional understanding of the entire ecosystem. You'll only get that myopic view, right? So AI is driven by the limitations of its data sets. But that doesn't mean don't use AI. Use it. But AI that is proprietary, that is created internally for your own company, where all the data is internal, it doesn't get spilled out. Like what they're talking about for Malaysia, sovereign AI, for example, where AI is curated for Malaysia and nobody else. Those kind of things have a closed scenario. Okay, so whatever you feed into it, it learns from. There's no access to, you limit the access to the internet. Gemini kind of does that. It limits the access to the internet. So whatever you feed into it is what it gives you answers on. Okay. The problem with ChatGPT, for example, you don't know where the data sets are. You don't know what the limitations are. You know there's a calendar date. And you don't know how much rubbish is in there. Right? So when you keep on asking it, it's going to keep on answering you. And if you don't check your answers, and this is the biggest danger, right? Most people don't check their answers. And what happens is fake becomes real because everyone reads it as real. They put it back into reports. Those reports go back in and are read in for future data sets, and it becomes gospel truth. Was it actually true? No, it never was true to begin with. Okay, so those are the kind of limitations and the real reality of the scenario. It's just like we have in advertising, awards and everything else, right? So the ecosystem of that works this way. Some awards are not really awards, right? They were curated, or they had, just puffed up results to show so they could win the award. Or maybe it's exaggerated results. Now, those exaggerated results go into the system and they win the award. Now, what happens is research companies, and even Dr. Kelly Kotler, for example, his insights are based on award-winning case studies. Now, if these award-winning case studies have fictitious results, what is he basing his research on? Okay, so that's the reality of it. It's a vicious cycle that you need to be aware of, and you need to be wary of. And with AI, it's even scarier. Okay, because you don't know where true center is, but you can play safe. There are lots of ways to play safe. For example, if you tonality of writing or whatever it is, you want to combine your research together, or you want to just data dump research in for you to read, and decipher and filter out yourself, then it's fine. But believing it is gospel, I don't think we're at the stage yet.
All right, thank you very much for that. So, for another question for you as well, Mr. Claudia Navin. So, can you share experience or any situation where AI significantly improved in digital marketing, communication outcomes while remaining within ethical and regulatory boundaries?
Okay, I got a good example. So I started using, I don't know if anyone's heard of let's see, Jarvis. It's called something else now. It was called Jarvis then, and it was basically an AI writer that wrote or rewrote copy content or any content, but it had to be fed by a writer, right? So you have to have a writing style. It's not like ChatGPT will write something for you. Basically, you have to put your own writing style in. You type it in yourself and all that, and it starts learning from you. So when it first started out, I actually talked to my agency, and the agency had 15 copywriters, right? And every time I worked with a copywriter, the tonality for my brand was different because each person has their own style and everything else. And then I have to train them to come back to this thing, and I have to keep on changing and everything else. So when I suggested Jarvis initially, nobody wanted to do it because it wasn't interesting. And then ChatGPT happened, and everyone is excited about ChatGPT. Next thing you know, I started seeing similar copy coming out. Okay, so the copywriters were putting their old stuff in and learning how to basically they were doing a shortcut lah. They didn't want to do the work; they wanted somebody else to do the work, and they were fed up of hearing me saying change this, change that, change this. So they started getting the same tone and messaging from all consistent messaging across. Now, what that happened is it kind of improved the process time for me. Number one. What happened beneficial for the agency was he managed to cut down his number of copywriters. He cut it down from 15 to about 6, right? Not so good for the copywriter, but end of the day, the copy was sharper. It was more consistent to the brand. So they were doing a few different brands, and each brand's message was consistent, irrespective of who was working on the listing. So there are ways it can be used where it can maintain tonality. Certain things are pretty much there. Sometimes when, say, for example, take a brief. Now, I tend to talk fast, right? So if somebody gets the messages or gets some wordings in there, but you don't quite understand the brief sitting in front of the client. Now, sometimes ChatGPT can help extract that whole thing, see if there's a nuance in between what he was said that I missed. So to decipher basically what the brief is about. Okay, and then maybe give you some ideas, top line ideas on how to approach it, which is a starting point. As a finished product, perhaps not yet, but there are several areas where it actually does benefit.
All right, thank you. So, for another question as well, for the third question is, for you, how do you personally or professionally practice self-regulation in branding and advertising in this AI-driven space?
Okay, I got into self-regulation back in 2004 when I joined the MAA. And at that time, the content code review was being done, or had been done, and the book was passed around, or rather the stack of pages was passed around to all the council members, one each, and we were told to proofread it and check the content code. Now, I didn't realize that most people would have just passed it back to their legal team and didn't check it themselves. I actually did. And because I did have legal background, so it was kind of a nice thing for me to do. And I kind of fell in love with the code after that, and it was kind of a fixation for me that to practice it. Now, the thing with the code is, and even the ASA code is the same. Self-regulation is this. It is, I would say, is a state of being, right? It's a state of being not just for you, for the brand that you represent, and irrespective of which brand you represent, and irrespective of how many brands you represent. The moment you're in that track, it's very hard not to. I'll give you an example of how I tried not to. So recently we had an MAA event called Trailblazer, right? And one of the challenges in Trailblazer, what we tried to do was to portray some ads that would breach advertising codes. And to come up with those ads was the toughest challenge for me because I couldn't. Because as a default setting, I could not see how to make it wrong. But I can find an ad that's wrong. It's just that I cannot do it because for me, I've tuned myself in such a way that these are the first things you do. So as a marketer, these are the things you need to do. Number one, just make sure that anything that you're creating to sell to somebody else or to push to somebody else, you don't want them to push to you, right? So if you're earnest in what you're doing and you're sincere about what you're doing and you follow the code, that is your baseline. Now, within that baseline doesn't mean you cannot be creative. In fact, I think the most creativity comes from within constraints. If there's no constraint, there's no creativity because you can do whatever you like, right? Whether it works or not is subjective because it's easy. But I can go back to 1970s. There used to be ads in Germany, for example, car ads that showed women walking nude. What that correlated with the car? No rationale, no reason. Okay, it was just optics getting people to notice things, right? No regulation there. I have a collection of ads that I have from the 1930s, 1940s. We even have ads of pregnant mothers drinking Guinness. These were actual ads. Okay, there were no regulations there in those days. Now, today you cannot have that, but the very fact that you tune yourself within a space and say, okay, these lines I will not cross, but I can play with it. Okay. Now the idea of creativity is not black and white. Okay, it's to play within the gray, and extending that gray. That is the magic, right? Because black and white is clear. That the line is you can't do it, but to play the gray and extend the gray, okay, that is the self-satisfaction of getting the message across. That is the idea of creative thinking without breaching any code. You didn't offend anyone, you didn't hurt anyone, you didn't cheat anyone, okay, but you teased enough.
All right, so this is the last question for Mr. Claudian Naveen. So, what advice would you give to future marketing communicators on building trust by using AI-powered campaigns?
Okay, with AI, by the time you guys come out and you've been in the industry as long as I have, the industry will be totally different. I would probably not recognize it, right? But I think there are 5 fundamentals that you could apply. Something that I've always talked about, and whether it's to students or whether it's to peers, actions must match intent. Okay, everything you do must serve the purpose that it's intended for, right? The second one is be earnest. Now, why do I say be earnest? I think authenticity is oversold. Authenticity tends to be a poster nowadays. Everyone's saying authentic, but honesty is from the heart. It's sincere. Okay, so you cannot, as a default setting, do beyond. You can fake being authentic, but you can't fake being earnest because earnest is a default setting. Now, third one is something I'm gonna rip this off. This person I know who's a CIO of I don't know, any gamers in the house? Okay. Well, if there are any gamers and they know Assassin, sorry, not Assassin, Hitman. So the CIO who works for IO Interactive, the gaming company, is a global powerhouse gamer. Now he's a CIO, and his line when I met him and we were talking about this is, just because we can doesn't mean we need to. And he was talking about the use of AI. A CIO in a tech company doing gaming is telling you, just because it's there doesn't mean you need to use it. Okay, so be cautious in terms of what you use and why you're using it. If you're using it because you want to use it, nak pakai je, to say that I've used AI in this, why does it serve a purpose? Did it benefit? Okay, did it make you lazy? Did it make it give you a shortcut, or did it actually improve the work that you did? If it improved the work that you did, then apply it. If it didn't, if it's just if it saves time, yes. If it is because you forgot to do something and you need to send out a last minute report 2 minutes before deadline, did it really serve the purpose? Because you didn't learn anything out of it, right? The fourth, what I said earlier, do unto others what you want others to do unto you. Okay, so if you don't want them to do it to you, as a consumer, you don't want to be cheated, you don't want to be taken for a ride, you don't want AI or any tools to be used to manipulate you or your life or your loved ones, then don't do it to them as well, right? Okay, so then it comes to the fifth one, which is what I said earlier as well. AI is not a checklist. It's kind of a state of being. It's self-regulation. Sorry, not AI, but self-regulation is not a checklist. It's a state of being. Okay, you don't do it because you have to do it, and then okay, done. Ikut syarat, cukup. That's not enough, right? The idea is it has to cross into everything you do, and the moment you spot it, it may not be an advertisement. It may be in principle something going on in the brand. Then you need to voice it out. You need to change it because you can, right? It is not. I mean, if you're doing something totally illegal, then that brand shouldn't be in existence in the first place. But if it is bordering on a breach, okay, let's say, for example, I wrote about this the other day about, say, for example, an influencer has some skin lightening lotion lah. Okay, so a lot of skin lightening lotions will claim natural lah, organic lah, and all these kind of things, right? But in most cases, when it's an OEM product from a factory in some foreign country or whatever, you don't know what the ingredients are. You know, natural, you know, organic is on the label, but you've never tested it. And most of the smaller companies who are buying OEM, for example, they're not manufacturers themselves, they're just putting a label on the packet. They don't know what's inside, right? Some of these things have some sort of bleaching chemical ingredients. And these are real scenarios. Now, imagine an influencer or even the brand owner says, oh, this one is so healthy, so natural, I can drink it. Okay? But they're not going to drink it because mahal tu, usual. So they would have mocked it up, put some milk inside an empty bottle and just drank the milk. Just to show, because you have to take a few takes, right, to make it perfect. So they did not intend to cheat, but they were just doing that as a mock-up, as a visual. Now, what happens if one of the users or consumers buys this product, okay, thinking, oh, if she drank, that's why she putih sangat, I also minum. Okay, now something like that would actually cause body systems to malfunction and collapse. So there needs to be some level of responsibility because that is how serious it can get. And a lot of brands don't know this. Okay, a lot of mature brands will learn this. I was with Babas for 20 years. Now, when I came into Babas, we were plastering 100% on everything. It was pure. Okay, so definition of pure is normally 100%. But then we found out that you cannot claim 100% because nothing is 100%. Okay, because even a speck of dust or whatever it is, or even organic thing, no product in the world is 100% pure. Okay, it'll be 99.999 or whatever it is, that's the purest you can get. It'll never be 100%. So you can never claim 100%, right? But everyone was plastering out. 100%. Then I think domestic trade came into play and they made the statement that you cannot claim 100% because nobody is. Then you saw certain products have 99.9% or 99.7% or whatever it is, right? Consumers didn't understand that. And they're like, hey, what happened? They took out the purity. No, it's just that that was the real truth. Okay, so the biggest challenge that self-regulation faces is one, people don't know about it, and if you don't know the codes, you don't apply the codes. Second thing is consumers themselves don't know their rights. Okay, so because they don't know their rights, they don't know how to tell, hey, listen, what you're saying is wrong. I bantah. Okay, so that is the challenge that we face.
So thank you so much for the beautiful insight here. So next, now let's turn to Miss sorry, thank you to Miss Dr. Adli. We have a question for you. So for this is for Dr. Nur Adlin. From your experience researching data privacy law, how should marketing communicator navigate the balance between personalization and user privacy in AI tools?
Thank you for the question, Sarah. I would like to share my slide. So, okay. So, no. Okay. Yeah. This one. Okay. Let's see the slide. Okay. When we see the pizza, Google search Google pizza. Every time we go to, okay, can you hear me?
Hey, you
Yeah,
can't see the
yeah.
slide though.
But we
Oh,
can't see
couldn't.
your slides, yes. We could just now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me
And
try it
then
again.
they disappeared. Yeah.
Okay, right now I'm sharing it. Okay. Every time we Google something, search, put it in a search engine. We just Google something. Is it pizza or Pilates or anything sports or skincare? So, have you wonder why the advertisements comes in our social media because of our behavior, our online behavior is being tracked by the cookies and so on. So these are the uh, some of the data collected by the organizations such as our location, our age, our challenges, our purchasing habit, income goals, and so on. So this how the data collection happen. Actually, they can collect data from disparate sources, just like our wearables, our watch, our handphone, our laptop, and then yeah, the other data become label classified and label, it become data profiling, and then based on the data profiling it become data analytics, so that we know that the which person having the highest spending income from which location and so on. And then the organization using AI to automate decision making by reducing all the human decisions and make it the targeted advertisement. So these are the risks and issues that I talked before, just like Mr. Claudian. So how to navigate, how to balance between personalization and user privacy in AI tools is, the first one is data minimization. So the company, by collecting data, even though you can collect most of every, for example, when we use social media, okay, we allow access to all the photos, all the contact lists, doesn't mean you should collect all the data, because when we collect the mass data, there are so many risks, and back to the organization to manage it. So from the legal perspective in data privacy, the organization should only collect what is needed to deliver their services. And the second one is to make the consent meaningful, not just mechanical, so that the marketing is optional to every customers. And the third one is build the transparency and explainability. So like I said before, that the marketing communicator need to provide the privacy policy to communicate clearly how the data will be collect, used, and stored and disposed for the marketing purpose. And the last one is to avoid manipulative and intrusive personalization based on research that personalized experience will build the trust of the consumers. However, over personalization will make them shy away. And lastly is about the regular audit. There is a data privacy impact assessment comes in together with the data protection officer to assess, to map all the data flow, to assess the risk, and to put the safety measure in place, such as data minimization, the encryption, and so on. So I think, in short, the personalization and privacy can coexist if the marketer put people before data. In the age of AI, trust just not earned, but also through creativity, but also responsibility. So I agree with Mr. Claudian that ChatGPT, um yeah, sometimes it comes with the, I mean, inaccurate data, but we also as the user can train it. For example, I asked my ChatGPT who is Dr. Adeline, and they come up with that Dr. Adeline is an athlete. However, I put several data to my ChatGPT and correct it so that data given is accurate, and after that I ask the ChatGPT again, and it come up with the correct one. So that's all from me to balance the personalization and privacy of AI tools. Thank you. Over to you, Sarah.
Well, if I may add to that, I mean, we're talking about hyper personalization, right? From a practical perspective on the marketing part of the equation, actually, we don't see it happening just yet. It's not, I mean, it's not a promise. It never really quite took off. Because you got to remember, while you're talking about cross-device talking, most devices don't talk to each other. Okay, so there's limitations there. Yes, the original cookie scenario promised that, but it never really took off. So we are challenged with hyper personalization. Yes, within the ecosystem, yes. Like for example, on Google to Meta, they don't talk to each other, right? Google does have an access because they have an overview scenario if you're going in through Google. But if you're running through apps, which is the reason why Meta and everybody else runs through an app, because they don't want you to run through Google. So that is the reality of it. It is not as crystal clear as you make it seem. Now, in terms of the AI and ChatGPT, now if I type Dr. Adli, I will not get whatever you fed because that's going into your data set that's curated by you as a user, right? It is not going into the overall data set. Okay, so if Prof. Aida typed in, she'll probably get the same athlete. So there's probably an athlete there who's more prominent on ChatGPT or has been queried more on ChatGPT by more people. You know, so I think in terms of the hyper personalization part, it is a promise that always came in because of the data sets from data and everything else, but it never quite delivered in reality. And I think the reason why the challenge was that we were collecting data as brands. We were collecting every form of data there is. Like say, for example, you buy a Samsung fridge, they ask you everything. Why do you need that much information just to buy a fridge, right? Now, when the Data Protection Act came into place, and in fact the GDPR came into place in Europe, a lot of these companies just trashed their data. They didn't want it. Okay. Now, because the cookieless world was coming, most of the brands started getting ready without cookies. Okay. So most of us have already evolved towards first-party data, which means we ask consumers for their data, which they willingly give. We don't ask for the entire kitchen sink, and we don't track you everywhere. We do more personalization in that sense. So personalization now is not automated personalization, because that didn't quite work out. Okay, of course, Google will still do it within its ecosystem because they have that bigger ecosystem. Facebook will do it within that ecosystem because they have. TikTok will do it in their ecosystem, but they will not cross into each other's. That's the reality. So, theory and practical quite different.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Mr. Claudian. Even though, yeah, I give the wrong example like Google and Meta is not sharing their data. However, if we can see the Meta ecosystem itself is quite big. They own threads, they own Instagram and Facebook itself.
Yeah.
By itself, they are quite a big ecosystem. They can share. For example, I can get the contact list from the Facebook, where I can add them into my other kind of social media. And then I can find whatever I want from the social media like Instagram, like pizza and so on. So
Correct. But you see, you know what the problem we as you as marketers, you know what problem we face with that? I think I don't know, but your students here may be a bit younger, so they do not have duplicate Facebook accounts, maybe Instagram accounts. Now, most people on average have about 5 Instagram accounts today, especially the younger ones. Okay, you have a dump account, you have an account for these people. So it's one person with multiple profiles. So how do you target them? Okay, so you have a lot of data, okay, about this one individual, but it's all segmented and separated. So you don't really have a clear sense. You have a lot of data about the person, but you don't have a clear sense of who the person is or that one person behind. In fact, you see there's 5 different people. So it's a bit tainted. Not as much as they promise. So they always promise that to marketers, right? Oh, we can give you this, we can give you targeted, we can do this. The problem and the reason why it's starting to fall flat now in terms of precision marketing is because effectiveness and efficiency is not really there. Okay, and that is the reason why now the call is go wide, go mass again. Okay, even if the 5 profile is 1 person, hit all 5. Those days they tell you no, you find the one in there that matches you. Now they don't tell you that, they say hit all 5, which is basically go back to newspaper, those old technologies of mass reach and frequency. It's gone back to the old because the pinpoint accuracy is not there. They have so much data, they had big data, it got so big they didn't know what to do with it. In a closer network, it'll be easier. So say for example in a university network, right, where each user has one user face, or if there was a ID to, for example, your identification card or whatever IC tied to it, then fine. As long as the gatekeeper is just your name and you create an email address or whatever, you know how many email addresses anyone can have at any one point in time. So you will have duplication, you have multiplication, you have replication of the same individual. You will also have one individual with multiple profiles split over different thing, and so the data is tainted. Not as scary as we thought. Not even as useful as we thought.
All right. Over to you, Sarah.
All right. Okay. So, this is another question for Dr. Nur Adin. So, where do you see the biggest gap in current AI governance framework that marketing communicators should be aware of?
All right, thank you for the question, Sarah. I think the one of the biggest problem with AI roles is that it's not always clear who's the responsible when things go wrong. So opaque AI system is complex decision making process that are not easily explainable and interoperable, just like Mr. Claudian said and also Dr. Aida. So I think it might be but this issue has been, can be solved, by the researcher from Oxford that they offer counterfactual explanation. For example, in credit scoring, for example, when person cannot get a loan from a bank, the only bank can answer is because your salary couldn't reach this range of salary and so on. So this using counterfactual in a way can explain the result of the automated decision making. Another big issue is the ethic and privacy. AI is moving fast, but the rule of about how to handle customer data aren't keep up. So marketers need to be very careful not to cross the line from helpful personalization into invading people's privacy, or they risk losing customers' trust. So marketers should avoid, should push for a clearer and more practical AI rules that fit their day-to-day work. And meanwhile, the rules to catch up, it's very important to stay curious and ask AI tools that you use to make it more ethical and put the privacy a priority. Thank you.
Okay, so another question for you, for admin. So, what role can self-regulation play along legal compliance in ensuring ethical marketing communication using AI?
All right. Thank you. Despite of the rapid growth of AI, the emerging technologies were growing so fast, but the law is too slow to catch up. So the existing legal framework are in Malaysia are insufficient to respond with the challenges posed by the emerging technology. AI comes with together with the unique risks and challenges that which may not be fully addressed by existing law and regulation. For example, I just give example of the Personal Data Protection Act, that there's no provision on the right to prevent solely automated decision making, just like the European Union General uh, Data Protection Regulation. So in Europe, they come up with the standard, the international standard, that will give back the right to the people to control over their data. So everything, when the organization use fully automation, which there is no human at all. So the human, the people become the data subject. The person whose data being processed can have the right to prevent it from being processed. So actually in Malaysia, there's a provision, um, provision about the to prevent solely automated decision making during drafting the regulation, but then being removed after the law introduced as a bill at the parliament. I'm not sure why is it happen, but right now the regulators are planning to have the automated decision making regulation, which will be issued I mean um, within this year or early next year. So I think why Malaysia developing the AI governance, that self-regulation play the crucial role alongside the legal compliance, so that we need to do the data privacy impact assessment and prioritizing the transparency with customers. So both the self-regulation about having the ethical use of AI in marketing can fill this gap and ensure that marketers follow the rules, but they also choose what to do the right things in building the long-term trust, protecting customers, and strengthening brand reputation in AI-driven world. Thank you.
Dr. Anlin, can I ask, does GDPR cover AI? It doesn't, right?
Yes, actually it covers AI in processing personal data.
If you put it in, but whatever is in the data sets is not covered, right?
Yes, but that's why the EU come up with the AI governance, because
But it's still not covered, I think. because
Yeah.
nobody has nobody actually, I mean, to defend our local laws a bit lah.
Mm.
In reality, no country has actually, I mean, EU has put in the standards in there, but they're not very tight. This is a baseline standard. I think Australia is talking about doing something as well. But nobody's actually got the grip of AI at all. In fact, if you look at social media, for example, nobody even has regulation on that. Okay, and AI is much bigger. So, while laws can talk about fixing the matter, it is too big a scale for any law in any country to be able to cope with it, because it's so huge and it's permanently, consistently evolving. Which is why, to some extent, self-regulation will be the best option, because you need to control yourself and check yourself. But the thing is, if you don't know how to check yourself and you don't want to, you cannot be selective about it. This one I control, this one I don't control. You can't do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It because of we cannot. I mean, no one size fits for all, right? So this regulation like the GDPR covers on the processing data. So AI governance are, I mean, slowly developing how to govern AI in the AI landscape. So I think because of as we can see that data privacy law itself is emerging and amending. So people are the enforcement is not really strong yet. So people are learning about data privacy, but still slowly learn about the AI governance. Even though
Yeah, but
we
then,
say have
Meta
the
and
effect,
Google have
but in the
Meta
future we
and
don't
Google have
know.
been here. Meta and Google have been here for years, right? They say their servers are parked in Ireland or whatever it is, and you can't touch it. So you can talk whatever you want to the cows come home. You're never going to get their data or where their data is, what the data is. Now, OpenAI's data sets, nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows
Mm,
what they are. Okay, they could be under the sea somewhere. Uh, was this in no man's land or whatever it is. So you'd have no jurisdiction to ask them anything. So that is where it stands, right? Processing of data that you put in, GDPR covers, but data that's already in is not covered, and you don't know what's inside there unless they tell you what's inside there, and they don't have to. Which is
mm,
the scenario with Meta. That's the challenge we all face, right? The transparency that we get from Meta and Google, which is not there, and that is because of where their servers are. Unless there's a global move by UN or whatever it is, and all countries come up together and say, listen, we are saying no to you guys, then maybe they can accept. I mean, the only one who can threaten Meta and Google is someone like China, because they have the 1.4 billion people to hold it back.
mm.
40 million population, 100 million population, 200 million population, not going to do anything for anybody. They're not going to bother.
Yeah, an
And
interesting
AI,
perspective. Yeah.
yeah, and AI is even worse than that, right? It's totally blind to who you are, where you are, to some
Yeah,
extent.
because of I think because of no one because no one, I mean, seems to bother about that right now because actually I think because perhaps because no one's challenged it yet. For example, when
Actually, everyone's bothered about it. It's just that nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody can do anything
no
about
one
it. Where do we
challenged,
start?
right? Yeah, no one challenged it yet. Because for example, TikTok has been sued by the GDPR because of the data retention. They don't have the data retention clearly when they are going to dispose all the data. So even though it seems very political, once people challenge it, it become very important and
Yeah, but then
maybe
when it's selective challenging, then you ask
mm,
questions, because
yeah.
TikTok is growing, you challenge them. Meta has been doing it for years, you never challenge.
Yeah, actually, and Meta has been fined for so many unethical practice by the
Yeah,
GDPR. If you can see
correct.
all
Now
the
say
those
say for
cases.
regulations, right?
So
Now
the
you know what they
aspect
did
of
with their latest
so
policy.
for people to challenge it actually.
No, you
That's
see, actually, Meta is degressing rather than improving,
mm,
because they used to have human filters, right? After their first level automation, then they got human. Now they're taking out human, and they have no rhyme or reason why. So instead of improving, they're actually regressing because they can. You know, so I think the automation scenario and the fact of trying to control, I mean, who we try really controlling. If you can't control the big boys, then you're only controlling the small boys. If you're controlling the small boys, doesn't make any difference. Yeah. So smaller companies are complying because they have no choice. But the guys who have the biggest amount of your data and my data and everyone else's data is not bothered to comply to GDPR or anything. In
Yeah,
reality,
because of the, I mean, the fines
their
seems
size.
like a piece of cake for them actually. But right now, because of the GDPR having a very huge fine, is is a 2% or 4% of the annual global turnover. So they are, I mean, complying with the all those the regulation. So we couldn't say that
Yeah, but
only
then
small. We couldn't say
no,
only small
no. As a data person, right?
complying it because of
As a
as I can see
sorry,
in
sorry.
Malaysia, in Malaysia, big companies also have the self regulation. For example, they are having data protection officer way before it come into force. Yesterday. Yesterday is the effective provision that every organization processing 200,000 20,000 personal data or 10,000 sensitive data must have a data protection officer, and also they
Yeah,
need to
but Dr.
notify.
Adlin,
Yeah.
you're talking about 20,000 people. That's not much data. Those are not big companies by the scale of it, right? In reality, what we're talking about is billions of people data that is running through Meta and Google versus thousands in our case. So, like I said earlier, it's a smaller companies with smaller amounts of data that are complying, but the big boys are not. And you're a data person, right? So you know data doesn't have to be in the same scale and form that it came into. So by the time is they get rid of it, they already have markers on it, okay, to may not identify the individual, but they've got enough data to make a avatar of you. And that avatar is all they need to track. They don't need to track you anymore, correct? From a data
Mm,
perspective.
yeah. If we withdraw our
Yeah.
consent.
Yeah, even if you withdraw all consent, the fact that you got it first already, they've got enough time to peg you and create an avatar of you without
Mm-hmm.
having to know your name or whatever it is, and they mark that avatar and follow the avatar around within the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So
That is
that's
a
the volume of data that they have. Most companies, even if we had all your data, we couldn't track you everywhere, right? But they don't need all your data to be able to track you everywhere. So that's it's not a balanced scale here. We are putting more controls on people who can't do much with that data anyway. But the guys who have all the data and they can do something about it are not really getting control.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your. I mean, Mr. Claudian. Over to you, Sarah.
All right. So thank you very much, Dr. Adli. Now let's move to Associate Professor Dr. Aida for her perspective on ethics and decision making in AI marketing. So, a question for you, Doctor. So, how should marketing communicator approach the use of AI to ensure they uphold ethical responsibility?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting discussion with regards to the data privacy issues and and the fact that there's a lot of data out there on us and how it's been used and so forth, and whether we have control over how it's been used or not is another thing. But how should marketing communicators approach use of AI? They should very carefully use AI to ensure that they uphold ethical responsibility, because of the fact that there are effects to marketing communication messages, isn't it? Yeah, on humans, there are effects, and this is, of course, as an academician, I'm concerned about the effects of the content of marketing communication messages, whether they use AI or not. Of course, because as you've learned before, the whole idea of social learning theory, where Bandura posits that we tend to learn through observation, modeling, and imitation, and that if there's any content that is, of course, unethical, that is irresponsible, that's not acceptable, that's inappropriate out there, then that could affect our how our behavior, isn't it? Because we learn through observing others, and we could be adopting this inappropriate behavior. Of course, again, the whole idea of cultivation theory, for example, suggests that once we are exposed to media in a prolonged manner, especially TV, it shapes our perceptions of reality. So it's a whole idea of basically the marketing communication messages could impact us in different ways. And if we were to wrongly use or put inappropriate content on, or use or produce inappropriate content, then it could impact us negatively, of course. So, of course, when you look at self-regulatory models, that are most effective in keeping AI-driven marketing communication ethical, I think when we talk about self-regulation, there's, of course, the self involved in determining what is rightful content, what is appropriate content, what's not appropriate. There's also the idea of having representatives from various industry sectors, advertisers, agencies, media organizations, and we could also include academicians in the picture, and everybody has to sit down and talk about what is acceptable, what's not, what are the issues, the whole idea of new standards and so forth, because we're all sharing this ecosystem together. We are all content creators in one way or the other, and we are using AI, and what is acceptable to everyone who is in the industry is important to discuss as well, isn't it? So that we do the right things for our consumers and our audiences. And of course, there should be transparency as well in the whole thing. And because with the emergence of AI, we need to come up with self-regulation that can adapt to new technologies and changing consumer expectations as well. So when marketing communicators make ethical decisions through the whole idea of automation, of course there are certain aspects of AI that cannot be controlled, but there are others that can be controlled, right? There are others that can be controlled, and whatever content that we can control, search engine marketing, you can control from the beginning. You can set something, you can set the messages from the beginning, you can determine the target audiences, you can come up with the copywriting and so forth, and the keywords that people should type in to and link to your websites and whatnot. So what happens is you can, to a certain extent, with search engine marketing, be in control of the situation. So when you're in the control situation, be aware that your decisions could impact others or audiences in a negative manner. When it comes to real world examples where self-regulation has failed, apparently with regards to Toys R Us, for example, there was a chatbot disaster when Toys R Us deployed an AI chatbot to assist customers online. So instead of helping, it provided nonsense or nonsensical or inappropriate responses, and it eroded people's trust in their online services. So, basically AI chatbots are not flawless. They can also be they could also lead to mistakes happening and nonsensical responses and messages being sent out for some reason or the other. So because of the whole idea that the AI tools used were underdeveloped, there was possibly not enough pilot testing and whatnot. So I think we need to be careful about the negative effects of this. Yeah, Sarah. So that's what I have to say about AI, marketing communication, and the ethical aspect of it so far. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So next question: how can a marketing communicator make ethical decision when automation and data-driven digital marketing are involved?
Right. As I mentioned before, they need to be, at the forefront. They need to be in the driver's seat, and they need to determine the messages that are appropriate or not as they set them. Because when you talk about search engine marketing and so forth, you can set the messages from the very beginning. You can do that. So this is something that they can do whenever they're in control. They need to make sure that the messages produced are ethical because of the impact of them, isn't it? Right? Because we shouldn't be thinking about sales per se. It should be or getting more followers, increasing the number of followers, or whatever it is that would be more sales oriented. But we have to think about the impact in terms of the value laden messages, in terms of values, in terms of inappropriate messages and whatnot. So all of these are also important, because I've mixed with some people from the industry, and I realize that some people have this perception that it's okay to come up with scantily dressed women in their social media, for their social media messages, because of the fact that according to them, the regulations are loose on social media advertising, social media postings, and the fact that they can then get a lot more followers that way. So it's okay to have a scantily sex object, isn't it? Yeah, being depicted on social media, for example, but it's not okay to have it on television because they're stricter on television. So it's things like this. You've got to think about what is responsible, your own responsibility in ensuring that you come up with messages that are appropriate, whatever kind of whether the regulations are strict or not, right? It's because it's your own
Correct.
responsibility, in determining that the messages are correct or responsible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Sarah?
Prof. Ida, exactly. The problem is, people tend to checklist it. So when they
Yeah.
see, okay, on this platform is okay, that platform is not okay, so we'll do it on that
Yes.
platform. We
Yeah.
don't do it.
Right.
It shouldn't be. It should
Yes.
be
Yes.
a brand promise, and a brand promise is a promise irrespective of the medium. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Yes, because I was shocked when I heard somebody from a media organization tell me this, and I was like, oh dear, right? This is, I mean, the end does not justify the means. If it's not appropriate,
Correct.
it's not appropriate. It doesn't mean that, just because you can get a lot of followers, that's the right thing to do. I think that's where self-regulation kicks in to the whole picture. I think, Sarah, we can open the floor to some questions. We've got like about 5 minutes, isn't it, Sarah? Because
okay.
I've answered the rest of it already. Yeah,
All
all the other
right.
questions. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Aida, for your session just now and for your answer. So, is there anyone have a question to our three panelists? Or three speakers?
Any questions? Yeah, to the from the audience. Okay, maybe I have a question. I mean, I'm really concerned that our data is out there, and our data could be misused, right, for the sake of marketing. Where do we see the future? Do we see a better regulatory framework in the future with regards to how our data has been used? We talk about permission marketing, but then, that's permission marketing, which means that marketers give the options, isn't it? The option to consumers to choose or not to subscribe or unsubscribe, right? marketing messages, and yet our data is all over. It's out there, it's being collected and being used, and we're identified, and suddenly, as soon as we click on certain reels on Instagram, we're getting more reels that are similar, isn't it? They're comparable, because obviously our what we're reading, what we're watching is being read, isn't it? Yeah, there's this trend, there's data on us in terms of what we prefer to watch. Our preferences are being monitored, and that's concerning for me, because it's like there's somebody out there who knows me more than I'd like them to. You know what I mean? So do you
Prof, it
see
could be
this,
scary.
any one of you?
Prof, it could be scarier than that.
Right.
Now, imagine if what you're watching is because they are feeding that to you.
Right.
Okay? Because end of the day, you're told that it's seeding your behavior because you watched it the first time, right? But why did you watch it the first time?
Right. Is it because they were feeding it to me in the first place? It's a chicken and egg kind of thing,
Perhaps.
isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So that's the scary part, right? You're talking about TV because the last true measure, and everyone blames TV for it, because TV had the power, right? Content has the kind of power to reshape behavior, to change nuances.
Yes.
Now, isn't social doing it every 2 minutes? Right? Now, it may just be that, yes, the algorithm is feeding you what you like to see, but imagine if the algorithm is not. Imagine it, these are all business entities, right? So
Right.
if it's commercially viable, because I'm paying X number of dollars for my brand to be exposed to you, okay, now wouldn't it make business sense for them to instigate it? Okay, so you are seeing it at 5 different points, and go back to the familiarity scenario, right? Just because you saw it few times, you by default might click it again. So therefore, you are, from seeded becomes a reality, and then you're getting more of that same. But how was it fed? Okay, now I found this interesting because there was this film festival in KL some I think sometime last year, with Content Forum was involved in with one of our partners, and one of the movies that was shown was, I think, Extremist.br. Okay, Extremist.br was about the Brazilian uprising that they stormed parliament and everything else. Now, if you watch the entire show, it was seeded. The entire uprising was seeded from a guy who basically got paid money. He's got no political affiliations, no affiliations of any sort, and he just started feeding the algorithms to targeted individuals. Okay, so imagine if individuals can do that, so can the algorithm. The algorithm has more information about you, and they can target you. Now, if they are seeding that, and they wanted to seed certain agendas, certain narratives, okay, and the narratives are not going to be Malaysian narratives or Asian narratives because our data sets are very small, right? Very easily, they could influence and change behavior to be more westernized. Okay, so the exposure of, say, the woke scenario and everything else, right? That's going on in the US. Our kids are seeing it here. Movies are a default setting, but you see it in social as well. Now imagine that translating into AI. Making it a norm for whatever they feel is norm for us to be norm, and it becomes norm. That's a scary reality.
Yeah, normalizing what's not usually normal or normally normal, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
And then
Simply because you're
normalizing
seeded to
that.
believe. Simply because you're seeded to believe that is the reality of what you like when it wasn't.
Gosh, scary.
Yeah.
Dr. No Adlin, any last words perhaps before we go?
Alright, I would like to, respond to your question. I think privacy, our misuse of data is our concern. Majority of us concerns because of due to we have everything. I mean, internet has changed our life, how we interacted, we share our details on social media and so on. We use the all the e-wallets and I mean online transfer. So our data are I mean available on the clouds. So I think to answer your question is we have the concerns, but we also share it anyway because of the services. This is what we call privacy paradox, where our attitude and our behavior are clashing with each other. However, we have several regulation, even though data privacy laws and regulations are emerging and amending. I think the main issue is the enforcement, because having a very strong regulation without an efficient enforcement is like a toothless tiger. So I think hopefully in the future that we I mean the marketing communicator can have the such regulation. Is about the building the trust and loyalty. Is about giving control to the customers before the law requires it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay,
Over to
Sarah,
you,
shall
Dr.
we
Haida.
take a group photo now?
Okay, so thank you so much for our three speakers here. So before we dismiss, I would like you guys to open your camera to take a photo together. Okay, I need you guys to open your cameras, everyone.
Right. Okay. Yeah, all right. Is that all? Only these people? Okay, it's all right then. Yeah, okay.
Alright.
Is that Fatima? All right.
Okay,
We'll take as it is.
alright, so I'm gonna take a picture. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. So one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, freestyle, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Alright. So thank you everyone for joining for today. So and have a great day everyone, and we look forward to seeing you. Wabihi wa taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So thank you everyone who joined.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, Mr. Claudian. Thank
Bye.
you, Dr. Noadlin. See you guys later. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Good night.
Right.